Okay, let's go back to just where we left off with lecture number one. Hemingway, again, a young man when he came back from the war. We can, I think I showed you that picture. Here he is, a young guy, not that much older than you, there in your junior and senior years at Cal Poly. I think Hemingway, I think that's one of the reasons too that some of these writers, they're young and they have impacted the world with their writing. We tend to think of them because we imagine Hemingway is this, in all the pictures is this old guy with a scraggly beard drinking in the bars in Key West, Florida. But this was an important time in Hemingway's life, and you've read The Great Gatsby likely, and so similar thing going on, although he wasn't in the war like Hemingway was. Hemingway was an ambulance driver and was, as I mentioned, wounded and given medals of honor for that, which apparently, I don't know that that was a very satisfying reward for him. All right, I want to point out that there's a contrast in the story, and it involves masculinity. It involves the deterioration or destruction of masculinity, or masculinity is put under question. And it's kind of achieved by creating a foil, if you will, like Romero, the bullfighter. Romero is handsome. He seems sophisticated. He's athletic. He does a dangerous sport. He loves it. He says, Hemingway's made statements like, or he has his character make statements like, "You never feel more alive than when you might die." Like so. There's maybe some people will see that's what was the war like that. Oh boy, it's exciting. You never feel more alive than when you might just die. And is that a same comparison to being in the bullfighting arena and having a bunch of spectators? We know that Brett, the female character in the novel, if we could say Jake represents loss, maybe we could say that Brett is the one who is, the women are coming out into the public sphere. Here's a Lost Generation picture, right? And we've got these different writers and poets and perhaps sculptors and hanging out in Paris and sharing their artistic desires over drinks. Here's another picture of what it might look like. People enjoying their time together with the generation they had maybe had a lot in common with. So whereas Jake is emasculated, we could say Brett is empowered. All right, and maybe not at I don't want to say at this hey, because the men are emasculated, the women became individualized. I think there were a lot. It was the perfect storm. Women were able to, I don't know, they were able to explore their individuality, their mobility in society, and especially in the public sphere. They were no longer just relegated to being at home. I wanted to contrast the style of dress that was in the late Victorian era for women with what was coming next. Like women were getting liberated, and this was going to change the sphere. I mean, we think about Brett. She was even able to come to the bullfights. She went in places that even some men might be looked down on for attending, and so Brett was. There was a lot of chaos and disorder occurring. I could say psychologically and emotionally in these people, but they were trying to keep everything moving on the outside, right? If we think about Freytag's pyramid, I'm not Freytag. Lost my train of thought on that one. All right, a couple of last things I want to say in this lecture are related to. Let's see. I want to go back again to the men. Here's a great picture, a depiction of the Great Gatsby time period. So you can see women are certainly able to live a much freer and more mobile and less, I don't know, they didn't have to watch being promiscuous as much because they were coming into the public sphere. There are a lot of stories about Hemingway's drinking. he drinks a lot. These are pictures that we might see of him. He died with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, as his family has suffered from a history of both alcoholism and suicide. And I think it's important to note that mental illness, the writers and artists aren't exempt from mental illness or from afflictions that the rest of us. It doesn't mean their work isn't artistic. It just means that these people had mental illness like some of the rest of us do, and they still are able to produce their work. I want to come back just to this concept again of the men in society, or of the drinking, actually. And the drinking, I want to point out that Hemingway makes a statement that he likes drinking because it makes people more interesting. And I thought, wow, I think he's drinking a lot, because who knows why people drink to the level they do, especially in this novel. So Hemingway has impacted not only the literary and artistic world, but the world of booze as well. If you were to Google how many different drinks are named after him, or bars or whatever, it's pretty amazing. So I don't want to I don't know that we can say that Hemingway is Jake, or that Jake is Hemingway. And I'm not sure who the star of, or if we could say who's the main figure. I think Jake might be the main facilitator, but I'm not really sure. The men have come back, shell shocked. They've come back from war and they're shell shocked. Let's go back here for a second. And the women, on the other hand, they are free. They're not shell shocked. They're the ones who are coming out, being empowered and kind of stepping forward into society. And men are the ones who are shell shocked, PTSD, emotional, directionless. And so we do see women taking on a bigger role, both in literature and in the public sphere. I hope you're enjoying Hemingway and the fun that is involved, and the sheer disgust of all the drinking, if you will, and the important exploration of all of those aspects of modernism that are occurring in Hemingway's novel.